What's the most awkward situation you've ever been in with a stranger? Don't forget to subscribe for dank new videos every single day. I was standing behind this guy waiting for the elevator in a hotel one time. We were down in the lobby and it was busy with lots of people coming and going. So he obviously hadn't noticed me. Elevator doors open. He gets in and turns to press the button for his floor. So he didn't see me walk past him on the other side. As soon as the doors close, obviously still under the impression that he was alone, he lets rip the most heinous fart that went on for all of about 10 seconds. Mid-fart, out of the corner of his eye, he spots me standing just behind him. Poor guy almost jumped out of his skin. He's staring at me like he's seen a ghost. I'm staring at him with what I can only assume was a fairly horrified expression, trying to think of something to say to make this whole situation less awkward. As luck would have it, we're both going to the same floor and he's staying in the room right across the corridor from me. So we have to endure an extra 30 seconds or so of mortified silence as we walk down the hall together. I thought about slipping a jokey note under his door. Shoulder stayed away from the shrimp tacos at the buffet, but decided against it. Woke up from a blackout drunk in bed with a woman I had never seen before. I didn't know her name or anything about her. Decided to try and get her name off her driver's license before she woke up. She woke to find me digging through her purse. Was adopted at birth. Learned who my birth family was in early 30s. Had met her sister but nobody else yet. Sister tells me grandpa is being taken off life support, cancer, and want to talk to me before he dies. Travel to hospital several hours away. Meet mom in hospital lobby for the first time ever. Go to grandpa's room where all of his and my family are. They are all there to say their goodbyes. Probably only 5% of them knew of my existence. Suddenly all the attention is on me, the stranger. They have me kneel by his side and he apologizes through tears for pressuring my mom, that I just met, to give me away for adoption. People looked pretty shocked including me. The experience was 1,000 emotions and awkward was in there somewhere. When I was little, I was at a museum and saw a man that I thought was my dad. I ran up behind him and hugged his legs. Was not my dad. He flinched and kicked his leg back. I stumbled back and just sat down and cried in the middle of the floor. Then it occurred to me that I'd come to the museum with my mom. Like probably many stories on this sub, this happened at a huddle house. My GF, now wife, and I were eating with some friends and I decided I needed to go to the bathroom. Got up, walked over to it and tried the door. It was open so I walked right on in. The room was pretty big, urinal and sink on one side, toilet on the opposite side. There was a guy in there at the urinal and he gave me a really strange look when I walked in. So I went on over to the toilet, had a pee and started actually processing my situation. That guy looked at me like I was really out of place. This toilet I'm using isn't in a separate stall. Not much privacy in here. Oh hi god, this is a single person bathroom. By this point the guy had hastily run out after finishing his business. I took care of my own affairs and had to do the walk of shame past him as I walked back to my table. I told my so later that night completely mortified. She thought it was hilarious. The look he gave me when I walked in is still burned in my mind. Not me, but at the gym, my mom was participating in a group workout. The treadmill suddenly started going too fast for her, and she fell off. Luckily, the trainer was walking behind the treadmill. She body slammed into him and they both fell to the ground. She broke his wrist. She goes to a new gym now. I was at a movie theater with my brother. We were watching Pacific Rim. During the action scenes he had to fart like a motherfucker so he waited until the music was at its loudest to be inconspicuous. The second he lifts his butt cheek and begins the music stops and all everyone can hear in the movie theater is giant foghorn of a fart. Imagine the music in action scenes. How it builds and builds and builds then has a moment of silence for a bit more drama. Then a fucking shart sounding fart takes it over. The reactions from the people in the theater were laughter, WTFS, and wow really yes. We were laughing so bad we were crying. Anyway, just wanted to share LOL. When I was young, I thought some random lady was my mum and tugged her skirt. She turned, screamed, and I screamed back. Not my proudest moment. I used to do security work at parties. One night there was an alert call for a young woman gone missing. I found her with her dress hitched up looking for her underwear in the bushes. I managed to unlock her phone to call her dad, who from his name I recognize as the district attorney. He comes over to pick up his intoxicated daughter. While I was carrying her to the car, she was making very sexual remarks about me carrying her. All the while her father is hearing me out like I was responsible for his daughter ending up that way, even suggesting I had raped her. His lecture continued after I put his daughter in the back seat, still making the same remarks while pressing up her body against the car window. When the cops arrived at the scene, she was stark naked, putting her ass out the window. I told the cops my side of the story. As soon as she picked up my name, she started moaning it to the point of waking up nearby neighbors. I was brought to the police station for interrogation. Surveillance footage proved my innocence. 5 years later I see this district attorney on a weekly basis at my job. When I was a teenager, my friends and I would spend the weekend staying up late playing video games and eating junk food. I was also a cross-country runner, and on this particular night I was experiencing some extreme chafing from a long run earlier that day. While we were at the gas station getting Doritos and energy drinks, I announced to who I thought was my friend, "Man, my nipples really hurt." Upon realizing it was a complete stranger with whom I had just shared this intimate detail, I simply stared at him and said, "You're not my friend," and walked away. I didn't go back to that gas station for a long time. Edit. I'm a guy for those wondering. It was Christmas Day 2012. My dad has passed away the night before. I was flying to the city he lived in to make arrangements. My flight was mostly empty. However, there was a new mom on board. She was carrying her infant daughter, a soft-sided dog carrier, plus diaper bag, plus a purse. No stroller in sight. We land and I make my way to the bathroom. As I'm washing my hands, the new mom enters. She's flustered and exhausted. I look at her and say, "Can I help you? I'm a mom myself. My son is actually 5 weeks old." Without warning, she thrusts her infant to me, turns around and promptly drops her pants with the restroom door open and goes to the bathroom. I quickly averted my eyes and entertained the infant. When she was done, I asked if she needed help to baggage claim. Turns out her husband was waiting for her outside. Edited for clarification. The husband was waiting outside the restroom door prior to baggage claim. The lady and I exited together and she walked up to him, still carrying everything, and they walked away together. He did take the dog and collected luggage when we got to baggage claim. This is the first thing that comes to my mind. I used to work at a supermarket. I was in the back room and someone told me a lady wanted some ribs. I find them and walk out there. I approached a Puerto Rican woman who knew very little English. She was the first person I saw and was standing around. I assumed she was the person who wanted it. I asked her if the ribs were okay and she looked at me weird. I asked if she wanted a different one, then she almost seemed a little scared. The employee who told me the customer who needed her ribs was someone else. I felt very embarrassed and realized I looked like I was trying to sell some poor confused lady ribs. I probably looked like one of those pushy, annoying salespeople. Oops. The other awkward situations were the customers who knew very little English or had a strong accent and I had to decipher what they were saying. Sometimes a person would have a speech impediment and I didn't want to look like an asshole when I kept having to ask them to repeat themselves. It's painful to listen to someone and pretend you know what they are talking about, hoping they don't notice. 3 days into a music festival. It's about 11 PM and I've been walking around and around the campsite for about 3 hours, trying to find my tent. I'd stopped to talk to people I didn't know, trading food I'd bought from stands around the campsite and cigarettes for beer and a toke as we chatted. As I'm walking around, I see a group of friends who I didn't know were at the festival. I got pretty excited and bounded over to them, waving and calling some of their names. It wasn't until I got right over to them and saw the confused looks on their faces that I realized that I didn't actually know any of these people. There was maybe a passing resemblance to 1 or 2 people I actually knew, but it wasn't even close to being the group of people I thought I'd seen. I'm not sure if it was a hallucination or what, but I quickly got the fuck out of there. I found my tent pretty soon after. 1. New Year's Eve. I was on the strip in Vegas, just hating my life because I have intense anxiety but tried to tough it out so that my wife could have a good time. We get to the end of the fireworks show and we start heading for the designated exit. I guess everyone had that idea because the crowd very quickly bottlenecked. People were all completely pressed together and it wasn't something we could control. There wasn't an inch to move. When we were mashed in, the guy beside me was pushed up against my side, trying not to look at me. I can feel the dude's crotch against my thigh hip region. I'm pretty sure he knew it, too, because he was focusing as hard as he could on the lights of a building up ahead. It was weird, but the whole Italian stallion thing felt pretty true. 2. I was at Kmart with my wife, and while we were looking for Christmas presents 2 years ago, my wife was checking her bank account online to make sure her direct deposit from work went in. She confirmed that it did, and showed me the check amount. I can't remember it now, but it was a good enough check to where I loudly wooed and started to do some sort of humping dance against her leg. I'm white. I don't know WTF I was doing. I didn't realize that a man came into the aisle before I started my making money dance. When I stopped, I looked over and the guy had the biggest smirk on his face, busted up laughing and walked out of the aisle again. Not me, but my dad. On a road trip and he hits up a coffee shop for lunch. There's an older gentleman there using a walker to get around. After my father finishes up he heads to the washroom and as soon as he opens the door he sees the older guy and they're standing holding his walker. There was a trail of shit coming out of the stall and he's standing there with his pants and underwear around his ankles and he too is covered waist to feet in shit. As soon as my dad opened the door the man said, "I'm so sorry." He looked so crushed and defeated. My dad felt terrible for him. He quietly pulled a male employee aside and the guy went in and I guess they contacted someone for him, although I'm not super sure how that played out. Poor guy. In the cinema, I interlocked my fingers with the kid sitting beside me for a full minute. Turns out, he wasn't my kid. Thank you for watching. Smash that like button like it's a thick booty. And don't forget to subscribe to okpjdark if you like nice things, like new videos every day. See you tomorrow.